They say blood is thicker than water, but I've learned that DNA can be thicker than both, especially when it comes to family secrets. Until 3 months ago, I thought being adopted was the biggest surprise in my life. I was wrong. I was adopted at birth by two of the most loving parents anyone could ask for. They never hid the fact I was adopted. It was just part of our family story, like my dad's terrible jokes or my mom's award-winning apple pie. Being adopted never made me feel less a part of the family, at least not until one particular relative decided to make it an issue. It all started when the invitations went out for the big family reunion. Grandpa was turning 90, and the entire extended family was gathering at his sprawling farmhouse in Vermont for a week-long celebration. Cousins flew in from all over the country. Uncles and aunts took time off work. Everyone was buzzing, excited about making it the biggest family event ever. Everyone, that is, except for one person. As the oldest daughter and self-appointed guardian of the family legacy, she took charge of planning the reunion. But apparently, she had some very specific ideas about who counted as family. I found out about her views during a family dinner at my parents' house. She was showing my mom the draft guest list, rambling about accommodations and meal plans. Of course, we'll need accurate numbers, she said, not quite looking at me. This is a gathering for true family-only blood relatives. The table went quiet. My dad's fork clattered against his plate. What exactly are you saying? Mom's voice had that dangerous edge I rarely heard. Well, she smoothed her blouse and said, you understand, don't you? This is about family heritage, about celebrating the bloodline. You're lovely, of course, but you're not really part of the family. Not really part of the family. The words hit me like a physical blow. 28 years of holidays, shared memories, love, and belonging, all dismissed because I didn't share their DNA. That's ridiculous, my dad started, but she cut him off. Be reasonable. This isn't about feelings, it's about preserving our family's history. The reunion will feature a presentation on our genealogy, displays of heirlooms, discussions about inherited traits. You would feel out of place. The only one making you feel out of place is you, my mom snapped. But she wasn't finished. Besides, I've already discussed it with the reunion committee. We all agree, blood relatives only. It's simpler that way. The committee consisted of her daughter and two cousins who'd never dared disagree with her. I'd grown up with that daughter, sharing clothes and secrets through our teenage years. Now, she couldn't even meet my eyes across the table. This is insane, my dad declared. If she's not welcome, none of us are. Don't be dramatic, she sighed. You're the eldest son, you have to be there. And Mom's been helping Grandpa organize his old photographs for the family history display. You can't abandon your responsibilities just because she's upset. I found my voice then. Don't worry about it, Dad. I wouldn't want to taint the precious bloodline with my adopted presence. My mom reached for my hand, but I was already standing. I mean it. Go to the reunion. Grandpa deserves to have his whole family there for his birthday. His real family, according to her. I left despite my parents' protests, driving home in silence. I couldn't stop thinking about all the little moments over the years when she had emphasized my outsider status, the Christmas when she gave all the grandkids family heirloom jewelry except me, the way she introduced me as their adopted daughter instead of just her niece. But something else was bothering me, something about how insistently she pushed for blood relatives only. It seemed excessive, even for her. Like she was afraid of something. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the family photos my mom had been organizing for Grandpa's birthday. One in particular stuck in my mind, a faded Polaroid from a family picnic the year before I was born. Something about her expression in that photo, the way she stood apart from the group, her hand pressed against her stomach, face turned away from the camera. She wore a loose sundress, unusual for someone who favored tailored clothes. According to the date stamp, it was taken just 6 months before she married her husband in what my mom always called a rushed ceremony. A crazy idea started forming in my mind. I was born in January, and she married him the December before. The timing, could it be? I took a picture of the Polaroid with my phone and dove deep into research over the next few hours. Hospital records from that time were mostly digitized. After some digging, I found what I was looking for. A birth record from the hospital dated January 15th, the day I was born. My birth mother was listed as Jane Doe, a common name for closed adoptions. But there was something else, a nurse's note, probably misfiled during digitization. It said the patient requested complete confidentiality due to a family connection to a hospital board member, initials KA. My hand shook as I pulled up the website for a major DNA testing company. I'd always avoided these services before, respecting my birth parents' wish for privacy. But now, the test kit arrived 2 days later. As I swabbed my cheek, I thought about her insistence on blood relatives only at the reunion, about all the years of subtle digs and careful distance, about how she had never once asked if I wanted to find my birth parents, when most relatives had brought it up at least once. 6 weeks later, my phone pinged with a notification. Your DNA results are ready. That's when everything I thought I knew about family began to unravel. The results loaded slowly, each section revealing another piece of an impossible puzzle. First, the ethnic breakdown, predominantly Northern European, just like the family I grew up with. Then, the health markers, showing the same predisposition to high blood pressure that runs in the family. But it was the relative matches that made my heart stop. A close family match appeared. Her daughter. The estimated relationship, half-sibling. The DNA test showed a close family match. The man listed as my uncle was actually my father. That meant the woman I thought was my aunt was really my mother. The room started spinning. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and called my mom, not the woman who raised me, but my real mom, the only one who ever truly mattered. She answered on the first ring. What's wrong? She asked. I need you and Dad to come over and bring that photo album from 1994. They arrived 20 minutes later. I was still staring at my laptop screen when they walked in. Without saying a word, I turned the screen toward them. Oh God, my mom whispered, sinking down onto the couch. My dad's face went pale. How long have you known? I asked. We didn't, he said quickly. Not for sure. We suspected, but your real mother never confirmed it. My mom took my hand. When we were chosen for adoption, we were told it was a closed adoption through the hospital. But the social worker hinted there was a family connection. We thought it might be a distant relative. Then, at the hospital, she said she saw the woman who was really my mother in the maternity ward. She claimed to be visiting a friend, but begged us not to tell anyone. It would have destroyed her life, my dad said. Her chances with Steve. We agreed because we wanted you so badly, Mom added quietly. And we were scared if we didn't, she might change her mind. I put the pieces together. The distance, her insistence on keeping me separate from family events, her obsession with bloodlines and heritage. We should have told you, Mom said through tears. But as the years passed, it seemed kinda not to. You were ours, completely ours. The how didn't matter. I hugged them both. These parents had chosen me, loved me, protected me, even from the truth. Does Grandpa know? I asked. Dad shook his head. I don't think so. Your real mother told everyone she was staying with a cousin in Maine during that time. I glanced at the reunion invitation still on my coffee table. The Anderson family grand reunion was starting in 3 days, a carefully planned celebration of family history that was about to change forever. I'm going, I announced. Mom started to protest, but I cut her off. No, I'm tired of hiding who I am. Tired of feeling less than. If she wants to celebrate Anderson blood, fine. Let's celebrate. The reunion was in full swing when we arrived at Grandpa's farm. Cars lined the long driveway, kids ran across the sprawling lawn, and the smell of barbecue filled the air. A large banner hung over the porch, Welcome Anderson Family, in perfect calligraphy. She spotted us immediately. Her face darkened. I thought we discussed this, she said, stepping forward to block our path. This gathering is for blood relatives only. I smiled, holding up my phone. Funny you should mention that, Aunt Karen. Or should I say, Mom? The glass she was holding shattered on the porch steps. Around us, conversation stopped. Heads turned. What did you just say? she whispered. I opened the DNA results on my phone. Would you like to see the proof? The test shows everything: genetic markers, family connections. It's amazing what science can tell us about family trees these days. You had no right, she hissed. That information was private. I laughed. Like how you spent my whole life treating me like a secret. Like I didn't belong. Keep your voice down, she pleaded, looking around nervously. Isn't this what the reunion is about? Celebrating Anderson family history. I looked at the crowd. Well, here's a piece of history for everyone. 28 years ago, Karen Anderson had a baby. Instead of acknowledging her child, she gave it up in a closed adoption. But here's the twist. She arranged for her own brother to adopt the baby, then spent the next 3 decades pretending that child was a stranger. The porch was silent. Jessica, my half-sister, stood frozen halfway down the steps, her face a mask of shock. Is this true? Grandpa asked. He'd wheeled himself onto the porch during my speech. Karen is Michelle, someone whispered. Is she yours? Grandpa asked Karen quietly. Karen's carefully maintained composure cracked. Daddy, I was young, unmarried. It would have ruined everything with Steve. So you gave your baby to James and Maria. Grandpa's voice was low. Then you spent years making that same child feel unwelcome in her own family. I did what I had to do, Karen cried. I gave her a good home, responsible parents. What more was I supposed to do? Love her, Jessica said sharply. Suddenly, all eyes turned to her. You were supposed to love her like you love me. Instead, you made me treat my own sister like an outsider. The next few hours were chaos. Family members took sides, arguments erupted, old secrets spilled out. Uncle Steve stormed off shouting about decades of lies. Cousins who had followed Karen's lead now looked ashamed. But something else happened, too. Jessica hugged me. Really hugged me for the first time in years. I always wanted a sister, she whispered. Grandpa insisted on hearing every detail of my life, proudly declaring my architectural talent must come from his side of the family. Karen left early, refusing to take part in what she called the spectacle. But her departure felt like a weight lifting. For the first time, I could just be an Anderson, no qualifiers, no explanations needed. Later that evening, as fireflies danced across the farmhouse lawn, Grandpa called everyone together. Family, he began, his voice strong despite his age. Family is not about keeping secrets. It's not about blood or DNA or who has the right to belong. Family is about love, messy, complicated, sometimes painful love. He turned to me. You've been an Anderson since the day James and Maria brought you home. Not because of whose blood you carry, but because of the love you've both given and received. I'm sorry it took us this long to say it properly. 1 year has passed since that reunion. Karen still won't speak to me, but I'm okay with that. Jessica and I meet for coffee every week, making up for lost time. She's pregnant now. I'm going to be an aunt. Mom and Dad are still Mom and Dad. Finding out about my biological aunt and uncle hasn't changed anything between us. If anything, it's made us stronger. Last week, I found a package on my doorstep. Inside was an old jewelry box and a note, written in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. This belonged to your grandmother. She would have wanted her granddaughter to have it. Not because of blood, but because of the heart you've shown in forgiving this family's mistakes. Love, Grandpa. Inside the box was the necklace, the same one my real mother had refused to give me all those Christmases ago. Now it sits in my jewelry box. Not as a symbol of bloodlines or heritage, but as a reminder. Family is what we make it. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes it heals. And sometimes, like a DNA test that reveals both roots and wings, it sets us free to become who we were always meant to be. Not just blood relatives, but true family. That necklace became my anchor. Every time I looked at it, I reminded myself that family wasn't just about shared blood. It was about the love, the history we choose to hold onto, and the bonds we build through honesty and forgiveness. In the months after the reunion, life settled into a new rhythm. Jessica and I grew closer, filling the gaps of lost years with laughter, late-night talks, and shared dreams. She showed me ultrasound pictures of her baby, and I couldn't wait to meet my niece, a living symbol of how complicated, yet beautiful, family could be. Mom and Dad remained my rock, supporting me without hesitation. Their love had always been my true foundation, and now, with the truth out in the open, it felt even stronger. We started planning a small get-together, just the four of us and Jessica, to celebrate new beginnings and family bonds that no secret could break. But not everyone was ready to move forward. Karen stayed silent, her absence a shadow looming over the edges of my new life. I tried reaching out, hoping to find some closure or even understanding, but every message went unanswered. It hurt more than I expected. Part of me wanted her to be part of this newfound family, to bridge the years of silence and distance. But another part knew that healing would take time, if it happened at all. One afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name scrawled in familiar handwriting. My heart raced as I unfolded the paper. Dear Michelle, I'm sorry, more than you know. I was scared of losing everything, scared of facing my mistakes. But I see now that hiding the truth only caused more pain. I hope someday you can forgive me. Karen. I sat quietly for a long time, tears streaming down my face. Forgiveness felt like a mountain I wasn't sure I could climb yet. But at least the door was open. That night, I held the necklace close and whispered, I'm ready to try. Because family isn't just about where we come from. It's about who we choose to be, the love we dare to give, and the courage to heal old wounds. After reading Karen's letter, I felt a strange mix of relief and uncertainty. For so long, I had lived with questions swirling in my mind. Why she had kept me a secret, why she had pushed me away, why love had felt so complicated between us. Now, with her words in my hands, a fragile hope began to take root. Maybe there was a chance for healing. But forgiveness wasn't easy. It wasn't something you just decided on one day, like picking out an outfit or choosing what to eat. It was a slow process, like untangling a knotted necklace, painful and frustrating, but necessary to find the beauty beneath. Over the next few weeks, I kept Karen's letter tucked in my journal. I read it over and over, trying to understand the woman who had given me life but kept me at arm's length. The memories of her coldness at family events, her whispered warnings, and the sharp distance I'd always felt began to make sense in a heartbreaking way. Fear had ruled her decisions. Fear of losing the life she'd built with Steve. Fear of what the Anderson family might think if the truth got out. One afternoon, Jessica invited me to her apartment. She was glowing with the kind of happiness only an expectant mother could have. Her round belly was growing, and she'd been nesting, filling the space with soft blankets, tiny clothes, and books about babies and sisterhood. I want you to meet the baby's room, she said, grinning as she unlocked the door. Inside, pastel colors and stuffed animals filled the space. On the wall hung a small framed photo of me and Jessica from the reunion, a reminder that even late-blooming sisterhood could blossom into something real. We sat on the couch, her hand resting gently on her belly. I'm so glad you're here, she whispered. I've missed having a sister. I reached out and squeezed her hand. Me too. I'm sorry it took so long for us to find each other. Jessica smiled. It's never too late. Her words felt like a balm on wounds I hadn't fully acknowledged. I realized then that family could heal in unexpected ways. I wasn't just gaining a sister, I was becoming an aunt. A new role filled with hope, laughter, and future memories yet to be made. Still, Karen's silence weighed on me. One evening, after a long day at work, I found myself scrolling through my phone, staring at her contact. The letter had opened a door, but I wasn't sure if she was ready to walk through it with me. Taking a deep breath, I typed a simple message. Hi Karen, I got your letter. Thank you for reaching out. I'm willing to talk when you are. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The reply came the next morning. Thank you, Michelle. I'm scared but ready. Can we meet? We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, a neutral place where we could speak without interruptions. When I saw her sitting there, looking older and more fragile than I remembered, my heart clenched. The years of pain and silence felt like a heavy fog, but beneath it, I saw the woman who had given me life, imperfect, scared, but human. We talked for hours. Karen apologized, not just with words, but with tears that finally released years of guilt and regret. She explained how she'd wrestled with the decision to give me up, how she'd tried to protect me and herself in the only way she knew. Her voice trembled as she said, "I was so afraid of losing everything. But I see now that I lost so much more by keeping you away." I listened, the anger and hurt slowly melting into understanding. I told her about my life, the love I'd found with Mom and Dad, the reunion, Jessica, and the baby growing inside her. We laughed over memories, some painful, some sweet, and began stitching together a fragile new connection. That night, I called Jessica to tell her about the meeting. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "It takes so much courage to face the past." "I want us to be a real family," I said. "No more secrets." Jessica's laughter filled the phone. "Me too, Michelle. We have a lifetime to catch up on." As the months passed, Karen and I started rebuilding our relationship, slowly, carefully, with lots of honest conversations and shared moments. She began attending family gatherings again, tentatively at first, then with more warmth. Jessica's baby arrived on a crisp autumn day, a healthy girl with bright eyes and a curious smile. Holding her for the first time, I felt a surge of love and hope, proof that even the most tangled family trees could bloom. Mom and Dad stayed my steady anchors through it all, reminding me that love was the true foundation of family. Grandpa's words echoed in my mind whenever doubts crept in. Family is messy, complicated, sometimes painful, but it's love that binds us. The necklace Grandpa had given me hung around my neck every day, a symbol of forgiveness and new beginnings. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry anymore. It was a reminder that I was worthy of love, no matter the bloodline. One evening, as I tucked Jessica's daughter into bed, I whispered a promise. "No matter what happens, we'll face it together. We're family." Because family is never perfect, but it's always worth fighting for. The years since the reunion have been a journey, full of ups and downs, surprises and discoveries. But through it all, one thing has remained true. Family isn't about perfect beginnings or spotless histories. It's about the love, forgiveness, and courage we choose to share. Karen and I are still finding our way. Some days feel like we're miles apart. Other days like nothing could pull us away. We're learning to be honest with each other, to face the pain without letting it define us. She's met Jessica's daughter, my beautiful niece, and you can see the softening in her eyes whenever she holds that little girl. It's as if the child carries a silent promise of healing, a new chapter none of us expected but all of us needed. Jessica and I have become closer than ever. Our weekly coffee dates turned into monthly dinners, then family celebrations. Watching her become a mother has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. I never imagined the family I craved as a child would become the one I built as an adult, imperfect, messy, but undeniably ours. Mom and Dad, who raised me with unwavering love, have grown proud in ways words can't capture. They always knew family was about more than biology. Grandpa's necklace still rests around my neck, a constant reminder of the strength that comes from forgiveness. One evening, not long ago, Karen invited me to the same cafe where we first met to talk about something important. My heart raced as I walked in, unsure of what to expect. She smiled softly, reaching into her purse and pulling out a small box. "I want you to have this," she said, her voice steady but emotional. Inside was a faded photo album, the one Mom and Dad had brought that day long ago. But this time, it was complete, filled with pictures of Karen's family, the Andersons, and, finally, me. "I want you to know you belong here," she whispered. "Not just because of blood, but because of who you are. You've made us better." Tears filled my eyes. After all the years of silence and secrets, these simple words meant everything. We sat for a long time, flipping through the album and sharing stories. The past still held shadows, but now it was also full of light. That night, as I drove home, I realized something I'd never fully understood before. Family is not about the DNA tests, the closed doors, or the whispers behind backs. It's about the bridges we build, sometimes fragile, sometimes strong, that connect us in ways no bloodline ever could. And with every bridge we cross, we grow closer to the people we were always meant to be. The truth had set me free, not just to accept who I was, but to choose who I wanted to become. I was no longer just Michelle, the girl kept secret and kept apart. I was Michelle, daughter, sister, aunt, and a part of the Anderson family. A family made not just by blood, but by love, forgiveness, and hope. And that was the greatest gift of all. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments what you think. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.